Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. Okay, I'm a little scared to do this podcast because I don't know if it's going to get under some people's skin, but maybe it will start some interesting conversation. But I don't know. I don't know how this is going to make you feel. Please tell me how you feel after this podcast so I don't die a slow death wondering how this is being received. But Ian and I came up with the list, so I'm going to blame him for some of the things on this list if you guys hate me after. But I just wanted you to think about some things that could be happening that could be causing you to get rejected on dates by guys. And I know that some of this could be like, oh God, I didn't think about that. And you might feel, like, why wouldn't anyone else tell me this? And I have family that's very real, friends that are very real. Like if something's in my teeth, they're gonna tell me. And if they don't, and I go to the bathroom and I come back, I'm like, you're an asshole. You didn't tell me I had something in my tooth. So this is, maybe I could be that person for you. And so I'm sorry in advance if this hits you in a place where it hurts. However, it could really help you in the long run. So, all right, now the first one. So this is going to be the top reasons, and I actually don't have this list numbered. So I'm going to do a numbered list really quick just to see how many there are. But the first one is teeth. Okay, now I'm going to tell you that when I would go out with guys, if they had bad teeth, it was a game ender, I guess, for me. I couldn't deal with bad teeth, or not going to the dentist, bad breath, really crooked teeth. That is a huge turnoff for me. It's not a turnoff for everybody. So if you are somebody that you're like, I don't care if my teeth are crooked and deal with it, then I'm just going to tell you that could be a deal breaker for somebody else. Okay. So first of all, dental hygiene is extremely important. And it's just important for your overall health in general. And so getting your teeth regularly checked. And I want you to know that if you have a decaying tooth, do you know that people can smell it? And a tooth that is decaying enough will actually smell like mothballs, which is the most repulsive smell to me. And I used to smell that on people and I had no idea until the weirdest person ever to bring it to my attention was Kim Kardashian. And Lamar Odom had bad teeth. And she was like, ew, your teeth are decayed. You smell like mothballs. And I was like, oh my God, that is what that is. Because certain people would have an odor that I was like, if a guy had that odor, I could not deal with it. It was like, I don't care how good looking you are. If you smell like mothballs, I am going to be running in the opposite direction. So go to the dentist. And that's the one person, the one guy or the one girl that's going to say, hey, you might have a little halitosis. And that's going to be the difference in somebody not wanting a second date with you, somebody not wanting to make out with you, somebody that's like, ooh, they don't like watching your mouth when you're talking. So if you're on the other side and you're like, yep, this is how I feel with guys. Like, he could be super cute. And this is where, my sister and I would send her pictures like years ago of guys online. And then she'd be like, there might be a bit of a teeth situation. And I would be like, damn, I wouldn't realize all of the pictures, they didn't smile with teeth. And then I'd get on the date and there would be the teeth. And it would be like, oh yeah, I can't. And that was it. It was just like, I can't be attracted. So that could be a game changer. I feel like I could do a whole podcast on teeth. It's just, I love people that have, I even just recently straightened mine out with Invisalign. So they weren't even that crooked, but I just wanted, I'm just very, very much perfectionist when it comes to teeth. So a lot of people feel this way and it can be the deal breaker. Okay. So my next one is bad breath or a bad odor. So, I know everybody's like not washing their hair every day and we're all doing the dry shampoo, but if there is any kind of a hygiene issue, if you're, do your pits stink? Are you being like Kourtney Kardashian where you're going through a no deodorant stage? So or if you've watched Schitt's Creek, where she's like, I have something to tell you, David. No, your natural deodorant is not working. So some of us trying to make the switch to natural deodorant, the struggle is real. So I'm just telling you that if you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm going out with guys and something must be wrong. I just want you to have this list and just think of this as like, Melissa's annoying podcast that might be right about a few things. And so maybe I do have bad breath and I need to deal with it. I'll give you a quick tip. Do you know if you eat an apple your bad breath usually comes from the gut or rotting teeth. And if you eat an apple, it really helps you have fresh breath because it's hard to, chewing gum can actually make you have worse breath because as it wears off, then the sugar in the gum or even the sweetener can have the opposite effect and then make your breath not smell as fresh. Same with mints. So you have to be careful with that. So remember, apple is the best natural breath freshener. So you can eat it before your date, or you can get a salad that has apple in it, or, there's lots of different natural things that you can use for that. Okay. Because if you're with somebody who's a clean freak and they're thinking about, putting their mouth onto your mouth, all of us germaphobes, it's like, that's got to look very appealing or it ain't going to happen. And even if a connection is great, those things can be extremely ginormous turnoffs. Okay. So next thing is showing up late. Showing up late. I've been a person running late my whole life. And so, later in life, I realized, wow, this is not just about me running late. This is about me not respecting other people's time. And especially if you show up late for a date, it's a disrespect. And it's, just sitting somewhere waiting for even a few minutes, 3-4 minutes can seem like kind of a long time, 5 to 10 minutes late, unless you have a good excuse. But if you're someone that repeats this can be also a huge turnoff for people. So next thing is, and we went in this in depth in my group coaching calls this month, and I had Ian come on and we talked about this in depth. So if you're interested in some group coaching, let me know. We have a program open right now. It's part of the Level Up for Love. So I have a Level Up for Love coaching program that goes 90 days. And in that 90 days, if you do that one-to-one coaching, I allow you access to the group for free in that 90-day period, or you can just join the group for a monthly membership. So the next thing is, after showing up late, is what are you talking about? And this is what we talked about in the group. What are you talking about when you sit down with a guy? And the turnoff can be if you're gossiping. So I want you to think about, what is the content of my conversation? Am I gossiping? So gossiping can be a turnoff. Complaining. So if you're on a date and the guy's like, yeah, I think she's really cute, but she has the breath of a dying goat. It's like, that is a turnoff. Or I think she's really cute and she's fun to be with, but all she did was complain about her job. Or she talked about coworkers, or talking about people that other people don't know. It's like, do you want to hear about a movie? Do you want me to tell you about a movie you've never seen? Do you want to hear a whole conversation about people that are watching a show you've never watched? It's like, it can be funny to a certain extent, but if you can't relate, you don't know any of the people, it's really hard to get excited about those conversations because you know the people, but they don't. And so I want you to just make a note. Like, what am I talking about? Am I talking about friends or that they don't know, or drama? Or am I complaining about my job? Or am I feeling really sad about something? So what energy are you bringing to the date? And what topics? Who are you talking about? Or are you spending your time only talking about people? And I happen to be watching the show The Ultimatum on Netflix, and it's the same people that made the show Love is Blind. And I was watching this girl, and I'll do an episode about this show if I feel like there's enough people messaging me about it. If I get a lot of messages. So message me if you want me to do a podcast on The Ultimatum. I'm still going through it. But in the show, there's one girl that just talks about how much money she needs a guy to make in order to date him. And she talks about the lifestyle she wants to live and how she wants to have, I don't want to just have a good lifestyle. I want it to be, like I have a high maintenance lifestyle. She was very open about it. I need the guy to make money. And, for most people, it's like, wow, that's the first thing you're going to talk to a guy about. She does not look attractive. For most people, it looks very superficial to be first and foremost. I need you to make money because I want to buy stuff and I need you to buy it for me. It's like that may go. And she actually, well, I don't want to ruin it for somebody, but she actually, we'll just say she found her guy, and I don't know how she led with that guy in the beginning, but as a rule, not a good intro, right? I mean, that's only, if you start saying stuff like that to people, it just looks bad in general to be, I need you to make a lot of money and I've got a lot of stuff and I need you to buy them. Like, this isn't how we connect with people that we want to get to know, because when you are with the person that you are going to marry, you're going to enjoy their company, who they are, their essence, how they think, just even today, I was at my aunt's home and all my family's there for after church for an Easter dinner. And it was like, I just always admire how he's handling himself, what he talks about, how he sits, how he talks, how he thinks. And, it's just such a comfort to sit next to him, to stand next to him. I just enjoy his presence. I enjoy his presence in the car. We've been together all day and I was like, okay, I have work to do. I'm doing this podcast. He's down in his office doing his work. And I was still like, oh, I kind of miss you right now. I just love being around him. Like, I never get sick of him. So that's to me what I want you guys to be looking for. And so when women open with that kind of stuff, I just think, wow, she has no appreciation for the other person. It's just, what can you give me? And she may have more depth. I haven't seen enough of her yet. She might have more depth that could reveal itself, where it's like, yeah, she talks like that, but that's not who she really is. So I'm willing to give anybody the benefit of the doubt, but for the sake of you and I having this conversation, it's like, that's super shallow. And if that's what you're doing, you're going to turn 99% of guys off. But I will say, if that's the kind of guy you're looking for and you want a guy that's turned on by you wanting things because he likes that kind of girl, then you do need to lead with that. But if you're a girl that's like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm not getting dates, but you're asking a guy how much money he makes. And I've asked Ian about this. Like, he is a very successful guy, had a very successful career in New York City and, dated a lot in Manhattan. And, he's a tall guy with a career and dresses nice and very articulate, very smart. He's a very in-demand guy. And I knew that, just seeing him online, I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of those guys that I rarely ever saw a guy like him online. And so, of course, I know other women were thinking that when they were going out with him, but what were they talking about? He was like, oh God, I'd go out with girls, and it was like, you could tell they were trying to figure out how much money I made and what my apartment was like and, what my lifestyle. And they were getting too focused on the idea of what it would be like to be with him. Like, what kind of a life am I going to have if I'm with this guy? Instead of, who is this guy? Because yes, all of those things can, if they have money and if they have a career, great. But is it somebody, like, what's actually important? And so I'm not saying that money's not important, but what I'm saying is building that connection is what's important, and knowing that you're compatible and being able to connect on a more deep level instead of just, okay, how much money do you make? So going back over bad breath, bad teeth, bad body odor, hygiene, critical, showing up late, gossiping, complaining, bringing up money, talking about your ex. People do this. Do you know that Ian and I did not talk about our exes for probably, I want to say, almost a year. And you guys might think that is crazy, but I had no interest. I just didn't want to talk about it. It was just like, I don't know. It never, ever felt like I wanted to know. And I know now, but it wasn't important. And even when I found out, it was like, it just wasn't relevant. I didn't need to know about the past. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask. I think we should know relationship history. And everybody is different and when they're going to bring that up. But I want to say, I'm giving you that, Ian and I have maybe an extreme example. It's our story. It doesn't have to be your story. However, I'm just saying that we had so much to talk about and our connection stood so well on its own that I did not feel the need to dig around in his past. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me who was in the past or what was going on. And I was so attracted to how he thinks, his ability to consume and remember history and politics, and just how he's so clear-headed. And I can come to him and say, I need you to help. Yesterday, I was like having an emotional thing happening. And I was like, I need you to help me make this decision because I'm too emotional right now. And then he actually said, I cannot make this decision for you. This is a decision you have to make. And I was like, damn it. But it was so true. It was like something that he really shouldn't make a decision for me on. And so just knowing that, it's like, those are the things that I want you to be thinking about falling in love with instead of what's on paper. Okay. So when you're going to talk about your ex, I want you to really think about why is it that talking about my ex isn't important right now? Or if you're going through a divorce, you have all these things going on, but does the person that's trying to fall for you need to hear all that information? You are not your divorce. Yes, you're going through a lot, but I really want to encourage you that if you're fresh out of a divorce, that you really lean on your therapist, your friends, your lawyer, and work through all the dirty details and try to create a bubble around your new relationship so that you're not constantly bringing that stuff up, because it's so tempting to look at somebody that you're so into, you're so attracted to, you want to start leaning on them emotionally and trying to let them hold you up. And if I can encourage you to not do that, you need to know, how do I hold myself up? How do I work through something without asking him to help me work through it? So I was actually talking to Courtney, the girl that does she's doing my hair, my makeup, my lashes. So shout out to Courtney. And we were just talking about this and she was like, yeah, you can't lean on somebody. They're your support. They can support you and encourage you. She had a great way of saying it, but they can't be they can't be your everything. Like, you have to hold. It's just using dancing is the best way. Like when you're in a frame with somebody and you've got your left hand on the guy's shoulder and he's got it'd be his left hand into your right hand. Okay. And when you are connected as a dance partner, I remember learning how to do a dip. Okay. So when you think about a guy, forget about the hands on the hands for a second. Just think about when a guy dips a woman. There's this idea that she just collapses and he holds her by her waist and she just throws her body back. That is actually not happening at all. When you learn from a professional, the woman being dipped fully supports her own weight with her supporting leg. And when she leans back, she is not throwing her weight for him to catch. So he is actually not dipping her. It should be more of a bend. I'm going to do a bend. She's going to bend over like backwards and he is going to support her waist. But so do you see? He supports her, but she's actually holding her weight. And that's what I want you to think of it like. I'm going to hold my weight here and I'm going to do the majority of my emotion. I'm going to control my emotions and stay steady. And this is only done through coaching, through therapy, through understanding what you're going through so that you don't ask everybody else. Like if you go to a party, let's say, or you go, it's like, I just came from a family function. And if I have problems I'm working through, you don't use that kind of event to say, well, here's what I'm going through and here's the whole thing. And then where you need somebody's undivided attention for 30 minutes. You can't do that. You can say, yeah, it's been really stressful. I'm going through a lot right now. We could talk about it at lunch or something. We should get together. It's kind of a long story, but yeah, it's really hard right now. And, but I'm getting through it. And so, yeah, I would love to chat with you about it over lunch. And that way you allow somebody to see, okay, yeah, there is something more here, but I'm not going to take this thing and set it in this family function and then weigh it down, because at a family function, there's food to be served and there's babies crying and there's aunt so-and-so and cousin so-and-so and new people coming through the door. But if I've been the person trying to give up too much personal stuff, and you try to get into a deep conversation and then you're getting interrupted, or then people forget what you're talking about because there's too much going on. So sometimes we're doing this on dates where we're bringing, okay, well, here's what happened with my ex. Here's why we got divorced. We've been divorced for this long, but he's doing this with the kids, especially if they've been divorced and they've got a dynamic with the kids. So it's not to say you can't touch on it, but I really want you to preserve the beginning of your relationship with less of that and more of, let's get to know this guy before we start investing and allowing him to even know those personal and private things. Because there's nothing worse than telling somebody a bunch of stuff and then they're not even around in a week or two. And you're like, God, I told that guy so much information. Or he turns out to be a jerk and then he uses some of that information against you. And you're like, crap, I should not have told him that. Why did I say all that? It's because you're oversharing, and you can share everything when the time is right. Now, Ian and I know everything about each other. But in the beginning, it wasn't necessary. It was necessary that I get to know his sense of humor, how he thinks, what was going on in the world, what was going on in our work and with our families, and where's your mom, where's dad from, where'd they grow up, your grandparents, all those things. Like, what did you do when you got out of high school, and what do you like? What kind of movies do you like? Music. It's endless. It's quite amazing how I just think about how much we constantly have to talk about. And with other guys, I would search for, there would be moments of silence. So just know, if there's moments of silence, I'm talking about more than just a few, and it's awkward and you're like, I don't know, then it's not the right person. You cannot have this going on with somebody you will marry. So on this platform, I'm trying to help you find a husband. And my coach said, it was so beautiful. Her name is Sarah. She said, you're teaching women how to find a husband to build a legacy. And I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. We're not just trying to find another guy to date, we're trying to find a husband to build a legacy. So this is a very specific choice. So I don't want you to turn a guy off because you're talking about your ex, or you're complaining too much, or you're talking about your kids that he doesn't know yet. Okay. So again, your kids are amazing. And if he's the right guy, he will meet your kids, or if you have one child or two or three, however many kids you have, and your dog or your cat or whatever, there's plenty of time for them to get to that point of your life. But it doesn't have to all be shared. And what I see going on in online dating, this world, it feels like everyone thinks they have to just get all of this established in the first few days. Why? I mean, relax, have fun, flirt, go to dinner. You don't have to be having these long, in-depth, soul exposing conversations little by little. In fact, I was feeling like Ian and I just remember this. I've never shared this. I remember I was feeling like we weren't having enough deep discussions early on. I wasn't getting to know. And he said something like, we have the rest of our lives, so we don't have to do chapter and verse. I remember that kind of irritated me. He's like, we have a long time we have forever to get to know each other. So we don't have to do chapter and verse. And it annoyed me in the moment. I'm not going to lie. But I also was like, yeah, I am kind of trying to learn so much so fast. Because why? Because am I afraid that if I don't, then something bad's going to happen? And so it caught me in a moment where it was like, wow, okay, I'm trying to make the full connection early on so I can figure out if it's going to last. Look, we don't know if it's going to last. There are no guarantees, but if we're trying to button it up to get married and have kids and rush the process, you can't rush the building of a foundation. And I've used this example a million times. If you've ever built a house, the foundation takes the longest to build. If you've ever I've built 2 homes, and it's like you walk out and you're like looking at the hole in the ground. You're like, okay, I was here last week. It still looks like a hole. And then like, okay, it feels like they're doing nothing. And then you're like, are they doing anything? Because this does not look like a house is going to be here. It looks like I keep coming and visiting a hole in the ground. And then all of a sudden, the foundation's poured. And once that foundation's in place, the rest of the house goes up so quickly. But you have to, if you do not build the foundation, and the builders know this, they know that there's a process. And if they rush that foundation process, that house will have issues forever. It will start to have cracks in the walls. And then all of a sudden you've got to go in and if you've ever done that kind of repair on a house, when it's in the foundation, it's a nightmare. You got to tear up the whole yard. You got to knock down walls, and you got to get in there, and you've got to fix it from the ground up. So, all right. So that's a whole thing about what are you talking about? Gossiping, complaining, talking about your ex, talking about your divorce, talking about your kids that he doesn't know yet. So your kids are your most important and precious things on planet Earth. So yes, they're important to talk about, but I also think it's important to not bring them in the picture right away. They should know you have children, and they should be, let's figure out if they're okay with dating someone who has children, and ask that immediately. Do not let some guy talk to you for a period of time and then get to say, oh, you have a kid, bye-bye. That is so shitty, and I never want that to happen to you. So just put it out there. Yes, I have a child. So, and I wouldn't even ask if it's okay, because that's kind of awkward to ask somebody too. Like, it shouldn't be by you bringing up that you have a son or a daughter or 2 children or whatever, you can bring it up. And if they don't say anything and they continue to move forward, then don't act like that this is a bad thing that you have children or a child. It's like, it is what it is. You make it known, and you don't have to put it out there like it's some kind of liability, because it's not. And if someone views it that way, they should be eliminating themselves. So if you start to get any weirdness around that area, I don't think it's bad to ask if you're feeling like there's a question there. So get it out on the table. But if that is the case, they are 100% not for you. But I just know how much that stings when guys wait until, they wait to tell you after you've gone on like a couple of dates. Like, oh, I didn't realize you had a kid. Yeah, sorry, I just don't think I can do that. So that's just me being a mama bear. I just want to make sure that, you don't feel like that's something that is a negative, because it is not. And the right person will love your child. I promise. It happens every single day. Okay. So, talking about other people's problems also. So this kind of goes into, just talking about other people, like your friend from work who has that thing that's going on, is not interesting date conversation. Unless it's like a really juicy, fun story, it's like not that exciting. Or next one is depressing topics. So I want you to think about, are you talking about things that are kind of sad? People do this, and it's like, why? Why are we talking about sad things? And so I want you to just do an inventory when you've kind of finished a date. Just kind of think about, okay, what did we talk about? And write it down, because writing it down will be extremely revealing to you of what kind of content is actually discussed on a date with you. Okay, the next one, actually, someone close to me went on a date. I bet she wouldn't even care. It was my sister. She went on a date with a guy a few months ago, and he cried on the date, and it was super awkward. And so, if it happens, it happens. But, it's very awkward for another person who doesn't know you to see you get to that level of emotion. If you get teary-eyed or something, but, if you're actually crying, you're probably, I'm going to say for sure, you're not ready to be on a date. Okay. Also, if you get upset about things and you start showing an angry side to yourself, that's also something that can turn people off. They see an anger. It's like, remember, they don't know you. This is what they're seeing firsthand, first time they meet you or second time they meet you. And now all of a sudden you're showing your anger or you're getting upset about things. And that's also, it's just, it can be a turnoff. So I'm telling you, like, you might, I always think of the person arguing with me like, well, what if I'm pissed off about something? I'm not saying you can't show it. Point of this podcast is I'm telling you that this could be a reason that someone gets turned off and doesn't want to go on a second date. Okay. If you have bad table manners, this is also a deal breaker for me. Like if somebody doesn't know to put the napkin in their lap, wipe their mouth, chew with your mouth closed, and just knowing how to appropriately address a waitress, to speak to a waitress with respect. If you've ever been a waitress, I feel like everyone should do it once. It's just, everyone needs to understand what's going on with a waitress or a bartender. I just feel like everyone needs that experience because so many people just when someone takes a service person for granted, that if you want to piss me off, like, and see me get angry on a date, be rude to a waitress, be rude to a bellman or a front desk person at a hotel. That really irritates me. And treating those people like they're not worthy or they're above them. Like, I cannot stand when people have a superiority complex. So that could be, so if you act like you're better than people, it's not on my list. So I'm going to add that as number 25. There's 25 on my list. If you're acting like you're better than other people, you're looking down at people. Actually, I'm going to add another one. If you're saying racist things. So 25, I'm actually typing this in. So racist comments will also be the quickest way to get rid of me. So, I mean, this is where I know this is a very popular conversation that people are becoming more aware of, like, oh, actually, that is kind of a racist thing I'm saying, or I am kind of ignorant here. Now, I feel like it's gone way too far where people are canceling people for being ignorant. And I can tell you, I grew up in the Midwest. There's a lot of ignorant people that aren't really racist and they're good people, but they are uninformed. And so when they get canceled or they get completely shunned, that doesn't teach them anything. And it actually, I feel like, makes the problem worse. So I feel like I wish there was a little bit more collaboration around this topic that allowed people a little bit of flexibility, just because I think it could, let's add more bridges instead of, oh, you got it wrong, so you're canceled immediately. And you're just, I just think that there can be some forgiveness, because people, this is my mini rant. People that are not exposed to people that don't look like them don't know how to talk about it. And then it gets worse when they think they know how to talk about it and they actually don't. So it can take, I remember when I was 15 years old, I came from an all-white town and I moved to Okinawa, Japan. And all of a sudden I was in this school I was one of the few white people. And I had one white friend. I've never told this story, so I hope I don't get canceled for this story. I had one white friend, and she was around, she had a very diverse upbringing. She was in military schools. Her dad was in the Air Force. And she noticed things that I would say that sounded racist. And I had just grown up with all white people, so I didn't really understand. And she was so patient with me. And I started to see things differently as a teenager. And I had a wake-up call and thought, oh my God. And she would just go, it's okay, Melissa. She was so kind to me as I saw the world the way I should be seeing it, through the eye. Because then I started to have friends of all different races. And at first I would think about what color they were, what race they were, what background they were. I was constantly processing that because I was only around people like me. And then when I was able to expand my mindset and understand, and she was so patient and she did not judge me for being ignorant. And that helped me eventually cross over. And I remember, I remember I had this moment where I was like, wow, I didn't think about color all week. And I'm so thankful for that experience at such a young age because it changed my life forever. And I can't put people in categories. I can't, like, if you coach with me and you have dated one race of guys and you're going to tell me like all Puerto Rican guys are bad, I'm going to tell you that they're not. I just don't believe it. It's like everyone who's dated certain type of guy, it's so funny. We're all most people are not racist, but when we date a guy a certain race and he's broken our heart, then we hate all those guys in that race. And so I also don't subscribe to that. So what I'm saying is, if you are a little ignorant in this area and you are speaking in a way that you don't really realize is like, oh God, that doesn't sound good. And, so take a look around and look at are you around people that don't look like you? Have you had exposure to people that don't look like you? Have you lived in a place where people don't look like you? And they're all different backgrounds, different religions, different customs. They've lived in a whole different part of the world than you. Have you had these kinds of conversations? If you haven't, you're probably saying things that sound very racist because it's just ignorance. So when you're in the dating world and you're listening to a guy, and like if a guy made a racist comment on a date, it was just like game over for me. I just couldn't, I do not want to raise children with somebody that I have to teach that to. So I just want to put that out there, however you want to receive that. So anyway, that's just my own little mini rant about that. But I want you to just think about, are you saying racist things? Are you talking about negative things, depressing things, gossiping? So let's go through the list again. Bad teeth, bad breath, or bad odor. So I have bad teeth as in one, and then bad breath or body odor. Showing up late. What are you talking about? Are you talking about other people? Are you talking about your job, your coworkers, your ex, your divorce, your kids? And I'm just I know everyone's going to be like, how can you say I can't talk about my kids? You can. I'm just saying, first few dates, he doesn't know your kid. So get to know each other first, because even if you make kids together, we grow up and we leave our parents, right? So the relationship between mom and dad is first. You have to have your bond intact before you can do good things for children. So keep that in mind. Even if you already have kids, you have to connect with him first. And then what you do with children after, that's the most important thing. So I really want you to have your relationship with the new guy as established as you can possibly get it before you bring in kids. When that time is, I'm not going to tell you because I just feel like everyone's different and it's really none of my business. I just feel like let's establish it. Maybe I think you should be at a point where you're exclusive. I would not want to I don't think you should introduce your kid to somebody that you're not even exclusive with. If he's still dating other women, let's not bring the kids into it. But if it's like, okay, we've decided we're dating, we're established, and we want to take it should just be a natural evolution. Like when you're with somebody and they have kids, you naturally want to meet them. You're excited to meet them. But you also, one person I dated with children, I also had a huge amount of respect for it. Look, I don't want to meet kids. I knew I would fall in love with kids, which I did. And I also knew just how important it is for the child to know I just knew that there was an appropriate time to meet me. And I wanted to be very sensitive to that because kids are so fragile and they can bond with you quickly. So I just think it's a very important and delicate subject that we should all really handle differently. I hear people that are like, oh yeah, we went on 2 dates and he met my kids. It's like, even if they're older, sometimes the older kids, it's even worse because then they really can process a lot more stuff. And then you're being affectionate and it's like this new person. And I just think out of respect for you and the kids, just hold off as much as you can on that. Okay. So depressing topics, getting too emotional on dates, getting upset, like crying is one, or just getting emotional, having bad table manners, or being rude to service people. Next one, constantly on your phone. So being on your phone, texting, looking at things, or being the person that's always showing somebody stuff on your phone. If my dad is listening, my dad's always showing us stuff on his phone. And it's like, yes, it's okay, but like constantly, like, here, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. It's like we're no longer having a conversation. We're now just focused on looking at things. So it becomes like show and tell instead of having a conversation. So it's okay to bring out a picture here or there or whatever, but make sure you're not constantly staring at your phone because, or oh, hold on, I got to get this text, or looking at your notifications. Like even if a phone is just sitting up, it's hard not to notice those notifications. So get your purse and put your phone in your purse, put it on do not disturb. Allow yourself to build a connection without your phone being an interrupter. And guys, for some people, you could be on a date with a guy and it's like, yeah, I really liked her, but she was on her phone constantly. And that can be a huge, huge turnoff. Okay. I think we talking about TV shows that you haven't watched. So going in depth about some show he's never watched or doesn't care about, chewing with your mouth open, talking while you're eating, and clean clothes. I mean, I know it sounds like a no-brainer, but some people are showing up in dirty clothes, wrinkled clothes, looking disheveled, looking unorganized. And also not wearing deodorant. I mean, you know, I've smelled some stinky girls. I'm giving hugs to people and being like, man, that chick has some BO. You know, like, do you have BO? Like, do you know if you have BO? You know, like, stick your nose in your armpit. Does it stink? You know, like, are you able to tell? Like, some people just get used to their own funkiness and they don't realize it. So I'm here to help you, sister. Like, maybe you need to change deodorant, start wearing deodorant. You know, like making sure that you are washing your hair at, you know, at least every few days. I know we're all being trained not to wash our hair, but, you know, and then take it. This is the most delicate part, but you know, when things get intimate, are you taking care of, you know, the things down there? Are you getting yourself, guys need a manscape and girls too. Like that can be a major turnoff for a guy. If things aren't looking manicured, and including nails, toenails, like if you have funky toenails, I mean, I can tell you, like if somebody has funky toenails or funky fingernails or dirty, anything dirty, it can be, again, the hottest guy ever. So look, you can be like super hot, but if you've got some of the funky going on in these areas, that can be the turnoff. Also, I have laughing at your own jokes. Like, are you somebody that, and this is where you're probably a gumball person and you would never be listening to the podcast this long, but just somebody who is entertained by themselves. And so they're laughing and talking and almost like telling stories and then being entertained by those stories. And it's just like, okay, and not being able to realize no one else is laughing but them. And so that's that lack of self-awareness. So someone laughing at their own jokes and no one else is laughing means they don't have the awareness of how other people are responding to them and interacting, and are they enjoying you or are they not enjoying you? Like that disconnect there can also be a huge turnoff. Another one is, so I want to make sure I have that superiority complex, like acting like you're better than other people. Even saying like, I don't mean to sound like I'm better than other people, but, and then you say why you think you're better, major turnoff. So if you want this list, you can message me and I'll give you the list. So one more time: bad teeth, laughing at jokes, bad breath, showing up late, gossiping, complaining about your job or your coworkers, talking about your ex too much, talking about your divorce, going in depth about your kids when he hasn't met them, talking about other people's problems or drama he doesn't know, talking about depressing topics, crying on a date or getting overly emotional or getting angry on a date, bad table manners, being on your phone, showing people too many things on your phone, memes and pictures and things where your phone becomes the focal point of the entertainment, chewing with your mouth open, talking while you're eating, not having clean clothes, not wearing deodorant, having funky feet, not taking care of the landscaping and there's no womanscaping, just manscaping. What is it for women? But, like go to build a relationship with somebody that can help you with those things. There are amazing girls that can help you with, all the waxing needs and getting laser treatments, even if that's something that you would be willing to consider. So whatever you can afford to do, but I try to do things where like I get my lashes done, I get my eyebrows tinted. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I feel like I already have somewhat of a face done. So I don't have to some of the stuff is high maintenance. It can be expensive. I realize. However, you look at what makes me feel good, what makes me feel put together, what makes me feel like I'm organized, all of those things. And so I hope this helps. And also, man, if you are dating somebody, if you're talking to somebody on the phone or you're texting, just think of all the stuff I just mentioned. You don't even know yet. Like, you don't know if they have, maybe you know about their teeth if you've seen, but you don't know if they have bad breath. You don't know if they show up late. You don't know what they talk about on a date. You don't know if they're super depressing, overly emotional. You don't know their table manners. You don't know if they talk with their mouth open. You don't know if they wear dirty clothes or they don't wear deodorant, or if they are racist or they're super money focused. So when you flip this around and think about what turns you off, so think about that too. What turns you off? And so in the next podcast, I'm going to talk to you about what the tempo of, and I think it'll be a much faster podcast, like what I want you to be doing when you meet guys online, and changing your approach a little bit to filter like a freak and save yourself some time. So I hope this was helpful. I think I have 27 things, the top 27 things that could be turning somebody off that you're not getting that second date with. Maybe some things you can examine about yourself, and let me know if there's any that I missed or things that I should add, things that you have found that have been a turnoff with guys that you've been out with, and maybe we can do a part 2 of this episode. All right. Until next time, I'll see you soon.